Good morning, Upper School. This is the most unusual way of delivering an assembly, um, but I hope that you enjoy it. We continue as we have our school is open, only the campus is closed. So the assembly I want to talk to you today is actually looking at status. So the value lies not in your title or your status, but in the character and depths of your compassion. These are the themes I want to talk to you today about in the assembly. Before I do that, as we would do this normally, we have messages. And as you can guess, there's a couple of messages we need to talk to you about. So first of all, well done all of you, the entire school, your parents, our teachers, our support staff, everybody that's made sure that in the last 10 days, and an incredible, unprecedented challenge to schools and communities around the world, which we're all in this now, we are so proud of you. We are proud of you for the fact that you have made this a new normal. You have made sure that you're getting up, you're doing your lessons, you are interacting with your teachers, you are learning. And these routines are so important. Now, we don't know how long this will last. The latest ministry document says 15th of May. And obviously, we look at these all the time to make sure that we can plan and have our strategy. But for me, it's longer. Okay, at least 10 weeks we have planned on the distance learning plan. So the school is open, only the campus is closed. I'm sitting here right now in my office in a very closed school, um, very lonely, but it's nice to know that the entire school is still operating out there. So the following applies as we've said. School hours, you keep your school hours, you keep your lessons. The learning expectations are entirely the same. Behaviour online. Now, there have been 2 or 3 incidents this week, and teachers have reported it because we meet with the teachers regularly. We have staff meetings still online. And if students do misbehave online, then there are ways that we can deal with this, and it's under our behaviour policy. And ultimately, you won't access the distance learning plan, and you cannot disrupt the learning of others. That's a really key message. So when we talk about behaviour online, talking in lessons, being silly, your teachers, of course, probably have more control with mics, and you've probably already established better routines. I saw that Mr. Mike's lesson yesterday in math with 7A. And on the whole, people have really responded to this really maturely and sensibly, right down from the shore starters to you guys in upper school. You are being set homework linked to what you're learning. We expect you to work in class. We know that it's a new way of learning, so we have to get used to this. Your attendance is recorded, and if you don't attend, the tardiness gets fed up to your parents. This will get more sophisticated as we use it. The routine of school right now is everything. Your families are going to need you to play your part in this. And the best thing you can do is make sure you get the most out of your school. We've got to look after our parents, okay? Your parents are having to probably work from home. They're probably having to, if you've got younger siblings, make sure that they can access learning too. And they're also continuing to be your parents. And all of us are probably going to be finding the restrictions of the lockdown more difficult as it goes on. And therefore, the routines and the certainty of education, there's an end to all of this, is important. Now, I've put on here a poster from the World Health Organization just to talk about this idea of social distancing. One of the theories behind what's been happening in other parts of the world to slow the spread down of the virus is that we now have to do a new social interaction, which is to keep our distance from one another. The isolation from this is a big issue, but it doesn't mean isolation. Our technology means we can keep the cohesion of our community. I spoke to 7A yesterday, which was wonderful, and some of the voices there. The idea of the reflection of your thoughts and the way that you speak to one another. I will drop in all the time to lessons to say hi. It's important I see you too, because I've got my own isolation I worry about. My family are back in the UK. I worry about what's happening there. We all spoke about missing school yesterday. Bogdan, I think we had a good chat about the atmosphere not being the same and missing our friends. Um, I love the idea of classes recording messages of hope to share with other classes around the world, not just with classes within Heritage. And I think all that positivity is really important. So I've been using the hashtag education beats COVID-19. Guys, I'm proud of you, okay? And normally I would look around the room now and say, any messages, Miss Rosie or Miss Monica or Miss Linda, and they will send messages to you when they need. Keep it all going. Okay, status. So it's a real 21st century obsession. We want people to know who we are. And with our technology, we've been able to kind of define ourselves in ways that previously we hadn't in history. And social media in particular is one of those things where we are regularly updating our online status and who we are. You can take things like words like champion to loser. I sat in a conference that I spoke at recently, and one of the presentations said we should define ourselves by adjectives, not nouns. And I thought it was a really interesting thing. I don't know if you recognise the tennis player here, but he's the British, actually, I'll say he's Scottish, Andy Murray. And he, as you know, one of the world's greatest tennis championship is London. It's Wimbledon. Um, the Brits hadn't won that since a guy called Fred Perry back in the 1930s. It became almost a national obsession. And then a couple of years ago, when Andy Murray won Wimbledon, and I went on to win the gold medal as well, I think he beat Djokovic in the final in Rio. It was an astonishing moment. And then the picture that you see of him looking glum, he literally crashed out of tennis with an injury. In fact, he had to have this incredible sort of hip surgery, which really prevents him from competing again as he did. One of the races I love, which I think is one of the most incredible sporting events in the world, is the Tour de France. And again, I'm sitting here thinking, Wimbledon, Tour de France, do all these things, are they going to happen? The Japanese Tokyo Olympics now looks very doubtful for 2020. But the Tour de France, if it is the world's most enduring sporting race on the planet, the Brits, again, I'm sorry to be very Anglo-centric today, but we didn't have anybody win this. And then suddenly we had three winners. Bradley Wiggins won it first, all the way through to very proud Welshman, Geraint there, who won it a couple of years ago. And again, the idea of winning and you know the hard work that goes behind the champions. Now, here's where most of us feel about status, because it isn't about a sporting achievement or an academic achievement for many people. It's probably about how much money do we have, how big our house is, what does our partner look like, what does our big fast car look like. So does it actually really mean who we are is our wealth or our material possessions? I tell you many times in my assemblies, you are not your parents, you're not your brother, your sister, you're not people's failures, you're not people's successes. You are you. You are the student of this school and you're creating your own lives. And the idea that we've got more in our lives than just the material side. Let me just show you this slide now for a second. I mean, look at that. I mean, imagine writing that as a signature. This is Prince Charles. He's the future king of Great Britain. But I mean, look at that when you put those. So does status mean titles? I don't know how familiar you are with Shakespeare, but this is King Lear. For many people, this is one of the most tragic and poignant of all the Shakespearean plays. King Lear loses the love of his daughter, Cordelia, when she tells him she loves him more than salt. And the final scene is this powerful king naked before the storm, the tempest, and he's just a foolish old man. And so we do have this kind of way that thinking we're more important than we should be. Lots of people define themselves through their jobs. And again, this is what the presenter was saying at the conference about we use nouns to describe ourselves, you know, Rob the director, or Mrs. Linda's now distance learning coordinator, or my dad's a postman, my dad's a bank manager, my dad's a hedge fund manager. We are not our jobs in a sense. It's part of us, but we're not. Let me show you these jobs. Number 2 is a serious one, by the way. It's actually a real job. So do we define ourselves through job titles, because if we did, there's some really bizarre ones there on that list. Let me cut to a clip. How do other people see ourselves? This is where the magic of technology fails me. There we go. Okay, this is a true story.
Worked for the San Jose Police Department from 1995 to 2011. I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair. I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me. Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw. My mom told me I had a big jaw. What would be your most prominent feature?
Kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them. All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe. Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
This is a sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you. Yeah, let's.
She looks closed off and fatter. Sadder, too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness. Do you think you're more beautiful than you say? Yeah. Yeah.
We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right. And we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
Okay, I want to play this one too as well. The father of three daughters. When I first saw this, I really was mindful of the way I spoke to my daughters and the kind of words I used. All of them are into science. All of them love lighting fires, climbing trees, jumping in the stream. So I watched this and it really made me think. Have a look at this again about how we define our status, who we are.
Who's my pretty girl? Sammy, sweetie, don't get your dress dirty.
Sam, honey, you don't want to mess with that. Let's put him down.
Samantha, this project has gotten out of control.
Whoa, hey, careful with that. Why don't you hand that to your brother?
Our words can have a huge impact. Isn't it time we told her she's pretty brilliant too?
I love that one. I love that advert. Let me just flip back to my assembly. So, our words are important in how we define ourselves, but we mustn't let other people allow our own status to be something that's imposed upon us, okay? Two things define us. patience when we have nothing, and our attitudes when we have everything. So what is important in life to us? Right now, this is a good question, especially as we're being forced to reflect and to think about the life that we've enjoyed that suddenly had so many restrictions placed on it and so many changes that we're having to rapidly get used to. And in fact, as young people, sometimes this might apply. Let me just play this one for you.
I am part of a lost generation, and I refuse to believe that I can change the world. I realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within is a lie. Money will make me happy. So in 30 years, I will tell my children they are not the most important thing in my life. My employer will know that I have my priorities straight because work is more important than family. I tell you this, once upon a time, families stayed together, but this will not be true in my era. This is a quick fix society. Experts tell me 30 years from now I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. I do not concede that I will live in a country of my own making. In the future, environmental destruction will be the norm. No longer can it be said that my peers and I care about this earth. It will be evident that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is hope. And this will all be true unless we reverse it. There is hope. It is foolish to presume that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that my peers and I care about this earth. No longer can it be said that environmental destruction will be the norm. In the future, I will live in a country of my own making. I do not concede that 30 years from now I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. Experts tell me this is a quick fix society, but this will not be true in my era. Families stayed together once upon a time. I tell you this, family is more important than work. I have my priorities straight because my employer will know that they are not the most important thing in my life. So in 30 years, I will tell my children money will make me happy is a lie. Happiness comes from within. I realize this may be a shock, but I can change the world, and I refuse to believe I am part of the lost generation.
The magic of technology. I miss Eugene. Right, where are we? So I agree entirely with the sentiment. You are not the lost generation. I think the crisis we're facing now, and we think about the urgency of climate change, what we do need to do to change the world. I think the world will be different as a result of what's happening now. I think this is concentrated minds. We are seeing the best in people now to try and find solutions, to work together, to perhaps stop focusing on the narrow, petty things, but actually what are the things that are important that we should be doing? Who we are, what kind of people we are, what is our character, what is our status? Status, it's you, okay? You define who you are. You're defining yourselves now in the way that you respond to this crisis. You could stay home, play games, get bored, make everyone's lives misery, or you could make sure your family is supported, that you make sure you continue your school, your learning, because it's been put on for you. You could make sure that you help others. Some wonderful examples, and if you look in the bulletin that's coming out this week, there's some lovely stories of hope and the human spirit, which always brings the best out of in humanity when we do these things. So I want to finish on a song, guys, okay? Because we need some songs in our lives. Let's go for Will I Am.
To me, and I'll stay strong, that's who I'll be, and I will always be the best me that I can be. There's only one me, I admit. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. Oh, I'ma keep my head up high, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, I'll keep getting stronger, and nothing's gonna bring me down. Never gonna stop, gotta go, because I'm new. I'll keep getting stronger. What I am is what I am is what I am is Nothing I can achieve because in myself I believe in more. Gonna keep on in the path, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, just keep getting stronger. Ain't nothing gonna bring us down. Never giving up, gotta go. Because I know I'll keep getting stronger. What I am is wrong. What I am is wrong. What I am is what I am is what you are is what you are is nothing I can achieve because of myself. I've been believing in God. Don't raise my head up high. Keep on reaching high. I'm never gonna stop. I'll keep getting stronger. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Never give it up, gotta go. Yeah, I'll keep getting stronger.
Okay, nice message to finish on. I'll keep getting stronger. I've got to share this with you. Elmo always freaks me out a little bit. I'm sure he's nice in real life. Guys, one more thing. Please make sure that all this time we're online, between lessons, don't go onto your phones and play games when you're going to go back on and work with your classmates online. Give yourself some break from there. Try and do some things that are offline and keep active and read a book and all those kind of things. Okay. Okay. Have a really good day. Have a really good weekend. And oh, two messages. I was going to say, Georgia and people of Student Council, Andre, we've got to look at putting the student council and meetings next week. What I want, guys, is ideas from you on what we can do to improve this situation, what we might be able to make work. We've got to plan a huge celebration for the entire school when this is over. Huge party, fireworks, champagne. We're going to celebrate what we've achieved as a community. Let's keep that in our minds. Also, Igor, I've got to say, you were mentioned in dispatches yesterday in the staff meeting of how brilliant you were. I'm going to say this. I might even go for Student of the Week. Well done, Igor. We miss you. 9E, do your PE lessons for once. Do your PE lessons. Coach Andre we're going to be monitoring you. Have a great weekend, guys. Make sure you look after each other and your family. Take care. Stay safe. Dziękuję. Spasiba. Mulțumesc.